After 18 years of just lying there comatose in the automotive industry, Honda claims it's suddenly regained consciousness and woken up with something of a teepee in its DAX over the prospect of the future. Imagine that. They've proudly issued this very statement, which doubtless you can smell from way over there. It's export grade. You will doubtless see a version of Honda's press release about its exciting new management team in Australia and the fascinating prospects for momentum into the future across the mainstream automotive media. And it'll go without comment or alteration because they're all in a queue for advertising welfare, aren't they, the media? And they wouldn't want to get an organisation like Honda offside because that would mean stepping out of the queue and not getting the welfare funding that they're all addicted to. It's almost as if this domain needs a cranky old bastard with his give a fuck tank on E to tell you what this actually means for, perspective. This report is possible because of my 2 side hustles, both of them, dude, count them, 1, 2. Getting new cars cheap for ordinary punters in Australia. We're not interested in Lamborghinis and Lotuses and things of that nature, but if you've got a hankering for, I don't know, a CX-5 or a Tucson Sportage, Santa Fe, Sorrento, something like that, or a car, even though car sales are, a bit polemic at the moment. If you want something like that, we can help you. You won't have to go head-to-head with a car dealer, which is, after all, one of life's more uplifting experiences, and there's no obligation. So you just go to the website and fill in the form for that. I'll put links in the description. The other side hustle is home solar. Got a really good solution in place there. No cowboy installers. Quality systems that get the imprimatur of an engineer before they are installed, using quality components with solid onshore support. So there's that. Also, no obligation there. And those deals have never been better because the federal government is throwing money at anybody who installs a battery. There's like a river of gold and you can open the tap just by getting one. It'll save you, I don't know, up to about $4,000 on a battery installation, which is not chicken feed, especially if you've been contributing your entire life like me. So might be nice to get something back for a change, don't you think? Links in the description for both of that. And now, Honda. That's been stacked so high and left to ferment in ideal conditions. They say, Melbourne, 4th of August 2025. Honda Australia today outlined its strategic direction and continued commitment to the Australian market with the addition of key new leaders driving the direction for the company. Who doesn't want to find out more about that? Who's leading Honda? Or we could make a shorter list, couldn't we? People who actually give a shit about that. I'd suggest that's what this announcement's really all about. Exciting new management team needs to make some kind of statement. Someone might be interested. I find it very interesting, but for all the wrong reasons, which we're about to get to. Honda head office booted the old management by the sound of things, presumably because the performance was so shit in such an enduring way, and now the new team is here. And they've issued some overview about the future, to which they say, quote, "This overview highlighted the Honda global vision." Dude, I hate it when corporations use the word. They make it sound spiritual or psychedelic or biblical or something, don't they? Like, we're just on our way down the track to the boardroom and the burning bush just popped out and said... Which reminds me of ex-wife number 3, I don't know why. Like issuing another ultimatum, as only she knew how. global vision for mobility, its enduring enterprise legacy and electrification strategy alongside continued sales momentum. Unstoppable sales momentum and rich brand heritage. Continued sales momentum. Dude, here in Australia, that's just abject bullshit. I'd be editing that out of any Australian communications if I were in charge. 8,068 Honda sales in the motor vehicle domain so far this year for the first 6 months. That's down 7.3% from last year. But to really get this apocalypse in perspective, let us flash back briefly to 2007. In 2007, Honda Australia sold 6,529 vehicles, all right? Then the GFC T-virus hit. It was frickin' Raccoon City all over. Innovation just stopped at Honda, and now we can fast forward to last year in December. So for the full year of 2024, 14,092 sales from more than 60,000 18 years ago or whatever it was, right? And this isn't just cherry-picked, okay? That's the peak minus last year. There's a continuum of shit sales performance leading to that 14,000 result, and this year is even worse again so far, okay? Any allegation of continued sales momentum by, personal opinion, those clowns is ill-advised, I'd suggest, and unmitigated horse shit. This is a frickin' sales apocalypse, and they've known about it for donkey's years, and every move they've taken has made it worse in Australia, and it's completely self-inflicted. If you get your Glock and you put it in your lap and you pull the trigger and you blow your junk off, it's hard to feel very much sympathy, is it not? Anyway, here's an interesting statement, quote, "This is an exciting time for Honda Australia." I guess it is. I guess that's like that recent Boeing 787 crash. You could say of the passengers on the way down, this is an exciting time in flight whatever, isn't not? Building momentum, although in the wrong frickin' trajectory, by serving customers with stylish, fun-to-drive, high-quality and value vehicles that leverage our best-in-class hybrid and other technologies to offer consumers the vehicle they want with the confidence of a fair and transparent purchase process. Remember to pull the P's on that one. Jay Joseph, recent new president and CEO of Honda Australia. J Squared, as I will call him henceforth, has been here since April Fool's Day this year, serendipitously. I bet they told him like that. They said, "We're sending you to Australia, J Squared." And he looked them square in the eye, in my mind's eye, and said, "Get fucked, I know what day it is." What are you really making me do? He's an import from America, where they have the First, Second, Fourth, and Fifth Amendments, of which I am unequivocally a huge fan, dude. So he's an import from there, and he headed up Honda's, this is a mouthful, horizontal format business card alert, Honda's connected, automated, shared, electrified, brackets, case, and energy business unit, which is an area, I would argue, where Honda is even further behind the frickin' 8-ball than it is in, more fundamental automotive R&D. And I'd further point out that sentence that he just allegedly said in the press release, but nobody talks like this, is more than 50 words, dude. It contains 2 compound adjectives that are a total of 3 words, count them, apiece. Do you know anyone that actually talks like that? I don't. Nobody I know talks like that. Did plain English just up and die? Nobody sent me an invitation to the funeral? I would have been happy to issue its freaking eulogy, although J Squared might have been better placed to do it. We'd still be there listening. This business about fair and transparent purchase process here in Australia sounds so good, doesn't it? So enticing. It reaches in and grabs you by the gonads and makes you want to go to a dealership. But he's actually talking, I assume, about the Honda shit price promise, where you get royally screwed over at every dealership by exactly the same amount. That's so fair and so transparent. I'm not accusing him of not being accurate about what it is. I'm just adding context about what it freaking means, dude. For example, I would argue that the cheapest Honda Civic one can buy is $49,900 drive away currently in Australia. $49,900. Now, the cheapest Toyota Corolla drive away is about $36,000, depending on which state you drive away in it in. They're both hybrids, okay? So $49,900 versus $36,000. What are the commercial implications of that, I wonder? Because otherwise the vehicles might as well be identical. They're both hybrids. They're both roughly the same size. They're both from quote-unquote reputable Japanese manufacturers. Toyota sold 24,000 Corollas last year. Honda sold, have a guess, dude. Like, just write a number down. Toyota sold 24,000 Corollas. What number of Civics did Honda sell last year over the same period? If you said A, 966, well done, dude. And that was down 27% on the previous year. So the strategy is just that fairness and transparency. That's what people want. They're just flocking in. Bring me more fairness and transparency. They're saying, fuck you, Toyota. I'll take the Civic. Said no one with a rational brain in their head ever. Jesus. At this point in the statement, J Squared didn't shut up. However, if I was his media advisor, he would have. He said, quote, our vision, once again with the fucking visions, is to leverage the vast resources and technologies of Honda, tapping into the challenging spirit. This is positively biblical, anyway, of the only company that competes to win in both F1 and MotoGP. How the fuck else would you compete? Competes to win. How else would you do it? Do you do motor racing competitively? Among other series, and uses that tech to make our vehicles better for our customers. J Squared. I'd argue respectfully that it's 2025, not 1970 or 1990, and nobody statistically gives a shit about racing. Your customer base is what I'm talking about. None of your customer base statistically gives a shit about racing, except when you deploy a really compelling performance car. Then they might be motor racing nuts. People buying Civics, all 966 of them, they don't give a shit, dude. Come on, get with the program. And I'd further suggest that racing is not the R&D hotbed of development that car makers often spuriously claim it is. That's pretty much bullshit too. They've got different objectives. It's just not. Fundamental R&D doesn't happen like that. Quote, Honda is strategically advancing its long-term electrification roadmap for Australia, focusing on a pragmatic expansion of its hybrid offerings while preparing for the full integration of battery EVs. This approach is designed to align with market readiness and consumer demands, ensuring a smooth transition towards a more electrified future. How frickin' tantalizing, dude. Once again, I am gripped by the gonads and almost can't say no. My self-restraint is crumbling. I want that fairness, that transparency. Meanwhile, back on Earth, are we actually alleging, are we claiming with a straight face that this is some kind of strategic plan, this delay with the battery EVs, letting every other car maker beat Honda to the checkered flag on the deployment of battery EVs? Is that part of a cunning plan? Or is it just a byproduct of being functionally unconscious for 18 years? What's more likely? Just 18 years of self-induced brain death, or part of our cunning plan? We forewent all of those sales for nearly 2 decades, and now we're going to make our move. Why not just be honest about it? Why not just say, like Toyota said, we don't think battery EVs are ever going to be more than about 30% of sales. And that's like ultimately, they can't be more than that. Why not just grow a set of microgonads and just say it, dude? Come on. I believe that this is a stress test of just how gullible the new Honda Australia management team thinks we all are in the public domain. Like, you want me to swallow what? No one's going to arc up about it except, someone with his give a fuck tank on E, but you want me to swallow that, dude? I charge extra for that, like I really do. Eva Barrett is Honda's, I suppose, new cheese of brand and marketing. Like, what a poison chalice. What was second prize? Anyway, she chimed into the release at this point. She said, quote, "Crucially, we are actively engaging with a new generation of Australian consumers. Our messaging reflects a more modern and relevant brand, exploring new channels and leveraging cultural moments such as the F1 season to align with and target younger audiences." Oh yeah, those cultural moments like the F1 season. The season is not a moment. Words have particular meanings, I would argue. It's important to use them in the right way, especially if you have a whole communications department or team. Firstly, Honda's sales are not in the sewer because of some off-target communication, because of some failure to engage with a younger audience. That's not the case. The brand is fucked, I would argue. It's an ex-parrot. Like, it's gone to join the choir eternal. It's pushing up freaking daisies, dude. And this is not a consequence of some communications failure. It's far more deep and fundamental than that. At least it is in my view. I suppose we could all thank the non-existent fairy in the sky who loves us but is obviously willing to burn us for eternity in hell for thinking impurely about Narelle's cans from next door. We could thank God, thank the Lord, that Honda's messaging in Australia is suddenly leveraged to target younger audiences. Problem solved. Thank God. Thank you, Lord. Sorry about Narelle's cans, but they are outstanding. Perhaps young folk are the only people who are actually dumb enough to think that fairness and transparency of the shit price promise is worth paying, I don't know, $13,000 or $14,000 over the odds for a Honda Civic. Maybe it really is that simple, and we just need to target those fools, right? We target those specific fuels and fools. If we get our communications absolutely bang on, our sales will once again surge to 60,000. Dude, Honda's on the ropes. The vehicles are priced like they're frickin' BMWs. They boned their dealers. That didn't work. You can't come back from that. You're kind of stuck. Sales are in free fall. Clearly, that's based on objective data. And the Chinese are busily just attacking from below. So you show me strategically, where is the move that Honda can make to restore itself to its former glory? Like, there isn't one. Honda's got nowhere to go. It's rooted, and the damage is completely self-inflicted. I don't recommend buying one. Like, why would a sane person buy a Honda at this point? It'll be a miracle if they can even climb partially out of this hole. As for emerging, she's all good. We had a grand plan. It worked. I'm not seeing it. This is just a case of new management stress testing the public's appetite for preposterous horseshit. Personal opinion.